Welcome everybody back to Jedi Eternal. Thank you for listening to Level 1313, or should I say Episode 13.
Oh, snap.
I'm coming in hot already. I'm your co-host today, Braxton Taylor, here with Professor Andrew Bolin, homeschool teacher extraordinaire. So anyway, I just had to put that in.
Yeah, I'm going to start making my daughter call me Professor.
I'm Professor Bolin.
Hey, Professor Bolin.
Dad, no, it's Professor Bolin. Anyway, so we are having a good time already here. We actually been slacking off. We watched Clone Wars, and then we sat on the couch and talked about Star Wars, and then
we moved in here and talked about more Star Wars
forever.
Before we actually ever got started on the podcast.
Yeah, we looked at each other and we're like, we should probably get started on the podcast. But anyway, so we're excited to be here today, episode 13. We're just chugging along here, and we're having a good time with it. We do want to go ahead and say, before we get too much further into the episode, we did a post, or a poll, should I say, last week after episode 12, and we asked you, we kind of had 4 suggestions, and we said, what do you guys think? 1, 2, 3, and 4. Which one, if we had to pick one, which one would you pick? And if there's any combination of them, what would you like to see? And anyway, we got a lot of feedback, and we thank you guys a lot for commenting on that. And
we really appreciate all the feedback.
Absolutely. The whole thing is we don't want to, we don't want this to get stale or anything, boring, which I don't think it would be. If you guys think that, it kind of hurts our feelings a little bit, but
we'd get over it.
We get over it. But no, but we really do. We want to grow. We would love to do more stuff.
We have lots of things we want to do.
Right.
The big thing is all of that costs money. And so
yeah, well, like I said, the 2 big things that was kind of a common reoccurrence between everybody. They did want to see video, want us to get video. Right. So when we do
which is one of our biggest things.
Yeah, that's our main thing we're going to do as soon as possible. Another one, which I kind of was surprised about a little bit, was people wanted to see us game. Yeah. Do some live stream gaming, probably play some, Jedi Fallen Order, some Battlefront 2, things like that.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe some Battlefront 2. I was thinking maybe we could go back and maybe do some Knights of the Republic, talk about that. We could even, fun. I also was thinking one that would be neat is to go and do Jedi Academy. Oh, yeah. Only because what would be interesting is to play some of it and reach the point where I never got to because my Xbox didn't work correctly, so I only made it so far, and before it would quit on me.
Right. Yeah.
And so I think that it could be cool to do some current ones, but also do some retro, play some old games.
I'm gonna go ahead and say this. First of all, again, I just want to reiterate, thank you guys so much for participating. Again, kind of as Andrew said, we don't know how soon that's going to come, just because buying a Delgado setup, buying a camera, all that stuff does cost moolah. So we're gonna have to probably save a little bit, and in the future, weeks, months, who knows?
But it will eventually happen.
It will eventually come.
And we'll continue to grow, and with your guest support, we'll continue to see cool things happen.
Yeah, very cool. And last but not least, before we get into news, I just wanted to say, one thing I kind of neglected to add to that post, and I didn't even think about it until now. If you guys have any specific suggestions,
sure,
we put out 4 that we've just been thinking about. But today on episode 13's post, use that comment section as your place to put suggestions for the podcast.
Yeah, anything you guys like to see, we'd love to hear.
Yeah, if there's something we didn't mention, you're like, oh man, I've really been thinking about, and you don't have to come up with something or anything, but if there's just something that's been on your mind that you're like, oh man, this would be really cool if they did this one thing or this couple things, we'd love to hear about that. So
absolutely.
Anyway, without further ado, we'll go ahead and get into our regularly scheduled program here, and our regularly scheduled program.
There you go.
It's a long story. We'll get into it later. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into our news for the day. So, first and foremost, and this is kind of a it's not a huge thing, but it's a pretty big thing.
It's pretty big.
It's pretty cool.
Unexpected.
Very unexpected. And so basically a brand new behind-the-scenes series is coming out on Disney Plus about Mandalorian Season 1, kind of the making of, documentary type style. Yeah. And it's going to be called Disney Gallery Star Wars The Mandalorian. And it's supposed to be coming out on Disney Plus on May the 4th, which is Star Wars Day. And so that's going to be really cool. And just kind of throw a little extra thing on that. That's also going to be the day of the final episode of Clone Wars Season 7. So they're both going to air on Monday, May the 4th. So If as we kind of talked about it, plan to see our episode that day, or maybe we might even just do 2 episodes that week. I don't know. We're gonna see as we get there. But look for an episode on May the 4th, which is gonna be Star Wars Day. It's going to be a great day to do a Star Wars podcast, So, but anyway, getting back to the actual story, though, I'm very excited to see this. I think Mandalorian Season 1 was phenomenal in terms of at least like the videography, special effects, and it looked amazing. And I think it'd be really cool to see this behind-the-scenes series and see, the making of and see how they did it. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so it's an 8-part series, so 8 weeks of this. And I'm curious how long the episodes will be. If it's just like, let's say, is it going to be like a 15-minute thing? Mm-hmm. Is it going to be a 30-minute thing, an hour thing? I can't imagine it's going to be an hour. I'd say 30 minutes tops if I was guessing. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's actually more like a 10 to 15 minute.
Really?
thing.
You think it's going to be that short?
I could see it being that short because I could see it... it just all depends, but you have to remember the episodes themselves weren't that long. So
but then you have to think they probably cut down quite a bit of what they had.
Sure,
though,
sure.
So,
I mean, it could go both ways.
Yeah.
I mean, if each episode's an hour long, great, that'd be cool. Yeah. I don't know, but I'm excited about it. I figured we would eventually get this somehow, and I had been wondering about that because we always get a documentary for the movies,
right?
And we hadn't gotten. That, and I assumed they had filmed it, right. And so it's great to see that it's going to come. I like the way they're doing it. I like that they're releasing it in episodes on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
it kind of makes another series for us because Clone Wars is going to be ending.
Yeah,
so it gives us something to look forward to. I'm sure we'll discuss it every week as we do our, probably not necessarily review it, but we'll discuss it. And
probably won't be like our main topic or anything, but that'll probably be something we just throw in there.
We will discuss them, and it's just something to look forward to until we get Mandalorian in the fall.
Yeah, and I think I obviously don't think they're going to have everything every week until then, but I can tell that they're trying to throw some bones out there so that no one gets, oh, Star Wars is done, so let's just get out of the mindset. They're wanting to keep us reeled in, which I like.
Right.
That. I want that,
And, if we 8 more weeks, that'll be what, like into almost August?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Or, July, I guess.
Maybe.
July. And so and then there's only going to be a couple months before Mandalorian. Mm-hmm. And so there might be something else they have in the works to fill that gap.
But also... August 1st, or not August 1st, but the beginning of August is when we're getting the book drop, first book drop.
For the High Republic, which we'll have a lot.
Might be what
we'll have a lot to talk about for that, of course.
For sure.
Yeah.
That might be part of it. So anyway,
let's move on to the next story we have here. So the next story we have, kind of unfortunate, The Mandalorian Season 2 will not be bringing back Taika Waititi to direct.
Yeah, that is too bad.
He said it himself. He said it on an Instagram watch party actually for, it was for, I'm not sure what it was for actually.
I think you're getting your lines crossed because we were talking about the Rogue One watch party.
No, he did do it for an Instagram watch party, but I'm not sure what movie it was for. But maybe it was for Thor Ragnarok. Anyways, whatever it was for, he was talking on there, and he said, I'm not directing any of the episodes of The Mandalorian because I was doing another film, a soccer film with Michael Fassbender.
Oh, that's going to be great.
So that to me is quite a bummer. As I think you guys already know, we've talked about before, I really enjoyed his episode.
Yeah, episode 8 was great.
He did the season finale. It was great. It had that hint of his work in it that really, I think, added to it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a bummer. I'd say that also means we're probably not getting his character either, which I know, his outcome kind of makes sense that we wouldn't see him, but I figured there was a chance he could still come back. However, it looks like he is not going to be associated with this season whatsoever.
Yeah, and that's kind of as you already said, that was kind of disappointing to me because, man, episode 8, that first scene, dude, with those 2 stormtroopers was so funny to me. I mean, I was just like almost in tears, just laughing, just because it was so dry and so stupid. Right. But like the whole trope of, Star Wars is that, stormtroopers can't shoot for anything, right? Mm-hmm. And then they put out those pistols and trying to shoot that can or whatever it was, dude. It was rolling. But then it juxtaposes with that humor to also this crazy serious, high-paced action. It was just a great episode, a great way to finish that season off. So
yeah, it was.
Anyway, so it is disappointing, but who knows, things might change,
Well, he might be back for the third season. Right. I mean, we know second season's done filming, so.
Right. So and that's what I'm saying. Like, he might be coming back for other stuff. Maybe not for season 2, but he very well could be coming back for other things. So let's move on to our third story for the week. And that is Star Wars Clone Wars Stories of Light and Dark is scheduled to come out August 25th. And this is going to be kind of made up of 11 stories, kind of going back over some of the Clone Wars and stuff. So the only disappointing part about this is that 10 of these stories out of the 11 are just recaps of kind of the best episodes or the best arcs or whatever. And only one of them is going to be an original story, which it is going to be cool. It's going to be about the Night Sisters and stuff. But it's going to be cool to get them at all. But I think the only slightly disappointing thing for, I think, both of us is that of the 11 stories, 10 of them is just recap. So
yeah, so we're getting this YA anthology series or anthology novel, and I've been really pumped about this since I heard about it. I heard about it, a while back. They announced it, that we were getting a Clone Wars anthology novel. So immediately I assumed that you're going to get a bunch of novels. They're going to do kind of what they did for the 40th anniversary of A New Hope. They're going to fill in some gaps. Everyone gets to tell their own story, what they want to tell about the Clone Wars. I thought it was a perfect opportunity to just continue to add on to the lore of Clone Wars.
Right, yeah.
And I was really excited about it. Instead, for some odd reason, they're retelling stories from the animated series. Mm-hmm. Why in the world?
Yeah, that's a very odd direction to go in. It's YA, so I mean, I don't mean this in a mean way or whatever, but I didn't expect too much. I didn't expect that there to be some crazy change or whatever. But I'm just saying, I think with YA, that's kind of expected, that they're kind of rehashing a few things and recapping a few things in the YA light.
But I mean, there's a lot of really great authors that have told some really great stories that would be a part of this.
Yeah.
So I wonder why they're restrained to just retelling stories that we've already heard.
Yeah, that's a good question.
That we've already seen.
Really don't know.
It's very, very odd to me. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. I may not even read it.
Yeah.
Just because of that.
Yeah.
It just all of a sudden doesn't really appeal to me.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, I mean, Clone Wars, like you said, everybody, my affinity to Clone Wars, how much I love it. I saw that and I immediately thought like, oh man, great, this is going to be just kind of a continuation of something I already really love, and we're gonna, like you said, either some gaps filled in or maybe it's going to be kind of new. I'm not going to say new episodes, but you know what I'm saying, new episodes of eras and times that we are familiar with, but something new. So since it's not that, it's going to be a little disappointing. But anyway, I think it'd be fun to read. I'm going to wait till it comes out and see people's reactions to it. And some reviews on that.
See what some people are saying and go from there. But all of a sudden, my excitement level for it has been dropped down dramatically. Let's go to our next story. Right. The next one that we have here is the release, re-release, I guess you could say, of Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. That's the classic Nintendo 64 game that we had talked about a while back, but we wasn't sure on when that would be released. The official date is May 12th. So May 12th, it'll be coming to PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, I was really excited about this because it's not something I'm gonna like, oh man, I can't wait. I'm like foaming at the mouth to get. But at the same time, I played this quite a bit when I was younger.
Sure.
And in my hometown, and this is a chain, so you guys may have had it in your towns too. I don't know if it's just a Midwest thing. I don't know, but we had something called Mr. Gaddy's, and Mr. Gaddy's is the most legendary location in this area.
It's kind of like a Chuck E. Cheese for those of you who
but better.
Yeah, but better. Yeah, I agree.
And why it's better, I really couldn't tell you. The funny thing is, like, they had like different TV. I'm getting off on a side track here, but this guy's is worthy of it. Okay, they had two different TV rooms. One was like a cartoon room, and one was like a sports room. And then in the back, they had a big like jungle gym and a huge arcade, and obviously pizza.
And great pizza.
It was the best pizza.
They had awesome cheese bread. And they had those cinnamon sugar pizzas. What are they? I don't know exactly what they called them, but
dessert pizza. I don't know.
It was wonderful.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I think I had every birthday from like ages 6 to 14 there.
Didn't everyone?
Everyone. Well, anyway, so I'm getting off on a long track here. Again, Gaddy's is worth it. But they actually had this game in a arcade style where you could sit down and you actually had like the pod racing like ignition handles. I can't think of exactly what they're called or whatever, but you know what I'm saying, like you push them back and forth to guide it, and you had like a pedal thing to guide, it was awesome. It was really fun. Played that a ton at Gaddy's, and also had it on I want to say I had it on N64 at one point, but maybe I didn't, I don't know. But long story short, very cool. I think it's gonna be fun. I look forward to playing it again. I may not, it's not one of those things I'm like, oh, this is the best thing in the world. But
right.
I'm excited for it.
It's still cool that they've brought it back.
Yeah, that with the Jedi Academy and all that stuff like that. So really cool stuff.
Yeah.
So let's move on. So this one's kind of a bit of a sad piece of news here, and this isn't strictly Star Wars, but it's related to it enough that we really wanted to put it in there. But that is San Diego Comic-Con, which is the big one, the big Comic-Con in, believe it or not, San Diego.
No way, prove it.
They call it San Diego, but it's actually in Kansas, so I don't really know why they call it that. Everybody gets there really confused. Anyway, but it was actually set to be in July, as it does every year, and unfortunately it got canceled due with all the kind of surrounding things that's going on in the world today. It did get canceled for health reasons. So the reason we bring that up is because that does, to some extent have to do with Star Wars. I'm sure there would have been a lot of Star Wars actors, panels and things like that. But
there's always a lot of Star Wars stuff involved.
Yeah, but the reason we really bring it up is to bring attention to the fact that it's a little bit less than a month later in the same state is Star Wars Celebration.
Exactly.
So there's no official announcement as of yet whether it's canceled or not, but there's a lot of people that are talking about it.
I feel like this pretty much sets in stone that Celebration will be canceled.
Yeah,
because this has kind of been what a lot of the people in the know. Mm-hmm. People like Making Star Wars, Jason Ward there, who I get a lot of. I think that's his name, Jason Ward. Is that his name?
And then like Alex Carboni also said something about it too.
Yeah, and basically all these guys who definitely know what they're talking about and talk to a lot of people that are in the know about high up people in Star Wars, and they've been saying that San Diego Comic-Con was probably going to be the big deciding factor on whether Celebration happens or not.
Yeah.
And now that we see that is canceled, I think it's only a matter of time before we see Celebration canceled as well. And you could say, well, but it's in August and this could all blow over. It could all blow over, but I don't think we're going to nothing's going to go back to normal for a while.
Yeah, even if some of the restrictions are lifted. Yeah.
Even if things are eased, restrictions are eased and things, I don't think that big gatherings are going to be considered a good idea for the rest of the year.
Probably
and
not.
So
it's really disappointing.
It's super disappointing.
Really disappointing.
Of course, we want everyone to stay safe and healthy, and
that's
all of that,
the main goal.
which is most important. And
but cons,
it is.
I mean, but I think it might be worth it.
So, it's a bummer, like, because as most of you, if you've listened before, I've already purchased my tickets and reserved a hotel room and all this stuff. So I'm a little nervous on like what happens with that stuff. Like, are they gonna send me my money back? Are they gonna give me a credit for the next one? Those kind of things.
Cool, if anything,
I hope I can cancel the hotel room.
That might be the issue.
That's one thing. I reserved the hotel room through the conference, so I feel like it should
be. Yeah, there's people who are doing like Airbnb.
Those might be out of luck. But I feel like since I did it through the convention, like they have to probably. I don't know. It's all up in the air. But and there's still a very, very slim chance that I guess Celebration could still happen. But I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, and that's why we want to talk about it. For those of you who planned on going, we just want to make you guys aware. If you hadn't heard this yet, which I'm sure you have, we just kind of want to throw it out there that it's very much possibility that it may not.
And I would personally like to see them maybe try to still do some kind of digital celebration. So maybe they could still do some reveals. They could still do some interviews, those kind of things, some panels. They just have to do like what everyone else is doing. A lot of these conventions that would normally be happening have done some online things instead.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see something like that.
That'd be fun.
Maybe charge. You could even still charge a little bit for it. I would still pay if it was like $20 to watch a week worth of panels, Star Wars panels. I'd do it.
I mean, especially if there's like releases and things of that nature.
Yeah,
I'd love to see that.
Absolutely. So I'm kind of holding out that we still at least get something like that.
Yeah,
we'll see.
So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, like I said, we just wanna get that out there so everybody is aware of that. So let's go ahead to our rumors. Drew, do you want to lead us off?
Yeah. So starting with our rumors, we have Disney Plus Rogue One spinoff, which is the Cassian Andor series, has added 2 more actors, and this is coming from Variety. They're calling it their exclusive, and it is Stellan Skarsgård and Kyle Soller.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see. I know it says somewhere what they've played in before.
Well, I have. Yeah, Stellan. He's been in Pirates of the Caribbean. He's been in Avengers. He's been in Good Will Hunting. So Stellan, he's. I've seen him in a lot of stuff. Now, Kyle, for instance, the only thing I am familiar with him in is in the movie Fury from back in 2014 with Brad Pitt, which is a good movie. But from my understanding, Kyle really hasn't been in hardly anything, especially as a star or one of the A or B actors. So this will be a good opportunity for him for sure. Like I said, Stellan, he's already a pretty big name. He's not like a A-list actor or anything like that, but he's up there for sure.
I recognize Stellan, but I can't say a whole lot for either one personally. I don't really know a whole lot about either one of them, but it's still cool to see some actors potentially being connected to the series because we haven't really seen a whole lot yet. Now, however, again, we are calling this a rumor because this is not Star Wars telling us. This is Variety saying that they've heard. So even Variety says they are still in final negotiations for their roles.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but it's still kind of cool to see the ball rolling on that.
Yeah, it's good to hear some news. So let's go ahead and move on. So our second rumor for the week is Ming-Na Wen was reportedly coming back to Mandalorian Season 2 playing her previous character, Fennec Shand. So that's interesting to me. I thought she was a pretty cool character. I mean, she wasn't to me oh man, I can't wait to see her come back. Hopefully she's still, because things were still up in the air. People thought she died in Season 1. So the fact that we're hearing rumors that she's coming back is a little confusing.
Well, spoilers for The Mandalorian, but let's talk about that for a minute. So we know that she gets shot. And she kind of falls over, and then at the end of the episode, we get that character walking up to her, which a lot of people think it might be Boba Fett, and so maybe Boba Fett got her and saved her before she died or something like that.
Yeah, it's possible.
Whoever that may be. So I could totally see her coming back because I think she was an interesting character. And I think there's definitely more they could do with her. And, a shot to the stomach or whatever it was, they could easily, say she survived it. So
people survive much worse than Star Wars.
Right, exactly. And so I think there is a good chance that we could see her in Season 2, and I'm open to it. I think it'd be a good idea.
Yeah, like I said, for me, she's not, someone who I just I can't wait to see her. But at the same time, hey, she's a cool character when I saw her.
If it is Boba Fett, I don't see... Boba Fett's kind of a loner, it seems like, so I don't really know why he would want to save her or help her.
Unless she had some kind of specific information.
I guess information maybe. If he is hunting the Mandalorian, which, again, not sure why he'd care or want to. But unless he's being hired by the Empire, I guess, to hunt him down to get Baby Yoda. I guess maybe he could be after Baby Yoda.
Well, because that's a pretty big bounty at this point.
Yeah.
After going back and forth.
I still think the Mandalorian is heading towards a Boba Fett reveal.
I am too.
I really think that's where they're heading, but I could be wrong. But I think it is.
A lot of people.
We'll have more to say about that probably next week. I know we have a Q&A coming up that's going to talk about...
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That we're going to talk about kind of our hopes for Mandalorian. Yes. So I don't want to say too much yet because we'll get into that next week. We do that
quite a bit. We end up talking and then a question gets asked and it's like, we just talked about this.
Let's save some of that for next week.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Go ahead and lead us off on our final rumor for the week.
Here. Oh, yeah. I probably shouldn't close up my pages here. So... Again, we've been reporting about Rosario Dawson and the Ahsoka thing for a couple weeks now. We keep getting a little more tidbits of information every week about this. Mm-hmm. So we've got another thing here. Variety, again, interviewed her what they call a Variety after show, and they asked her about about her playing Ahsoka in The Mandalorian. And here's what she said. She said, "That's not confirmed yet, but when that happens, I will be very happy. I'm very excited for that to be confirmed at some point." She said, adding it would be 1,001% because of the fans.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, that's some very innuendic language right there. Yes. Like that, when that gets revealed, I will be very excited.
It could really go both ways.
It could, and she's trying to play it safe, obviously, but she's very much trying to, in my opinion, just say, I'm excited, and it's not official yet because I haven't released it, but when they do, I'm gonna be excited because it's gonna be really cool.
Here's the deal: if she is in season 2, then she's already done her part.
Yeah, very true.
So some of this leads me to wonder if maybe we're not actually going to see her till season 3. Because sometimes the talk behind it almost makes it seem like it's something that they've not done a whole lot with yet. It's just they've came to a decision. And if that was the case, it may not be till season 3, and maybe that's why Ashley acts like she doesn't know anything about it.
And if that's all the case, then I hope it is, because I don't want Ashley to get mad or offended with this whole situation, because we talked about this 2 episodes ago, maybe 1 episode, 2 episodes ago, and how we really felt like Ashley was offended by this. She wasn't, and she should be. If this is the case, that she didn't get invited and stuff like that,
she should get some kind of say or something.
Yeah, I mean, she is Ahsoka.
Right? Yeah. So, I mean, we'll just have to see what happens with it.
Yeah.
If she's in season 2, we'll have to find out for sure sooner than later. They can't. I honestly don't think they can keep it a secret up until it airs. But I mean, I assume there's a chance we could get a trailer. Well, probably would have been at Celebration. Yeah, and so that's kind of one of those things where we may end up, maybe we'll even get it a little earlier if Celebration doesn't happen. They want to try to make everybody happy.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We don't have the con, so we're going to throw something out there for you.
So that's our last story in rumors, right? So,
yep.
I guess we will jump into releases. Again, guys, weird times. Comics have shut down for a while, so none of those comic releases are accurate anymore that originally were going to be released. As soon as I hear more, and I will let you guys know, I know that DC is looking into starting to release some of their comics by the end of the month. So we could maybe see Marvel follow suit and decide to do that as well. So maybe some of those comics, we will start to see new release dates for them. But as soon as I know, we will update you guys and let you know. So the only thing that I'm aware of right now would be Clone Wars episode 10.
Yep.
Which will be Friday.
That is very true. I think that's pretty much it.
I think that's about all we got in releases.
All right, so without any further ado, we are now going to go into our Q&A segment, where every week we make a Facebook post asking you all to ask us questions, bring up topics and suggestions and more. And you guys have been very faithful to do that, and we're very thankful for that. But as many of you already may know, we just always want to kind of state it again for those who may be new or whatnot. We always try to do 3 questions and topics and suggestions a week. And if there's any more than that, we will always put them into a queue, and they'll be the first ones to be answered next week. So we always want to state that every week, just because you know how it goes. You get these big, YouTube channels or whatever, like, ask us questions, and then you always feel like, oh, they're never going to get to my question. But although we don't have a ton, we always want to make sure that if we go over, we always get to them. So
your question will be answered eventually. Maybe not on this episode, but maybe on the next.
So for instance, last night we had a Q&A forum, and there's 3 or 4 questions that were asked, and none of them are actually being answered today because we have 3 questions that are being finished up from the 2 weeks ago when we had 12 questions.
But please continue to ask questions.
Absolutely.
We absolutely love getting questions. There's no such thing to us right now of too many questions. If we do end up feeling that way, we'll let you know. But right now, we want as many of them as possible.
Yeah, and
so
I continue
to do it. We really thank you guys for it.
I have a feeling we probably won't hit that too many questions mark for a very long time.
I don't think we will. So right now, just keep sending them in. We love it.
Yeah. So, sounds good. We thank you for asking, and let's get into it. So, this week's first question comes from Will Danny Blankmeyer. Forgive me if I say the last name wrong. But he says, what actors would you love to see play some animated characters? So, for example, Rex, Sabine, Thrawn, etc. So, for me, and we kind of hit on this last week or week before. We just kind of talking, and we actually kind of mentioned this a little bit. I think it was 2 weeks ago, actually. But, for instance, for me, the two... I don't really have a strong opinion about who plays... I don't really have a strong opinion about who plays animated characters as long as they're good. But there is 2, for instance, that I would really like to see. Obviously as Ahsoka, I would definitely like to see Rosario Dawson play her, but with also as Ashley Eckstein voicing her. That's the kind of combo I would love to see for Ahsoka if they're going to bring her to live action. And then secondarily, and this is something I really want to see, if we start to see Captain Rex, or I guess, well, we'll get to that later. Never mind. I was gonna throw out a spoiler. So never mind. I'm not gonna do it. This new episode spoiler, but I'm not gonna do it. We'll get to that. A good thing I caught myself. Anyway, but if we do get to see Captain Rex in a live action setting, I would love to see Mr. Tamira Morrison, which is the original actor who played Jango Fett in the prequel trilogy. Love to see him. We actually looked up pictures a couple weeks ago at like mid episode. Like, oh my gosh, this dude looks exactly like Captain Rex in Rebels.
Yeah, because he's bald and everything.
Yes, he looks so good. And then for Sabine, your other examples was Sabine and Thrawn. Sabine, I don't have any preference. Traditionally the way I always look at it, and I think this is something I said before, but I would like to see no-name people play characters because
right,
we don't have this predisposition of what they are, what they played.
And the first 2 we mentioned there are not necessarily, I mean, everybody knows them now at this point. Of course, right. we know Jango because of the movie, so that's a little different. But Rosario Dawson is a famous actress. She's played in a lot of things already at this point. Probably most famous for Daredevil, I would assume.
Yeah.
But I agree with you on both of those. That's what I would like to see. As far as Sabine, I think Sabine would be a good one to bring in someone a no name.
Mm-hmm.
But Thrawn, I don't know if you've heard anything about this, but with Thrawn, the big, huge, long image banner that they had at Celebration.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of those little segments was Rebels on that banner. And if you look closely at it, Thrawn looks like Pierce Brosnan. Okay, which is 007 from...
Yeah.
And so it looks pretty good. It doesn't necessarily look like his character from like anything else. Yeah. It's just interesting that they chose for him to look so much like Pierce Brosnan.
I just looked it up. That looks exactly like Pierce Brosnan.
So it's very interesting that they did that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's any reasoning behind it or if there's ever been any talk, or maybe they had some inside information when they drew it. I don't know. But seeing it, I'm like, you know what? I'm for that. I think that would actually be pretty cool.
And he's a pretty cool guy too. I mean,
now of course we do know him as 007, and it's hard to get away from that, and that might be one of the biggest reasons not to do it. But he's not been. I don't know how many movies he's been in since he played James Bond. I personally haven't really followed him, but
I'm looking at the I'm for it. Jason Isaacs. He is a pretty popular actor. I can't remember. He's usually the bad guy. He looks
good. Now, see, this would be a good time for if we had video, so we could be like showing these as we talk about it.
At some point,
one of these days we're gonna have that. But this picture that Braxton's showing. What did you say his name is?
What did I just say his name was? Jason Isaacs.
He looks like he would definitely be a good Thrawn.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
Yeah.
Thrawn's one of those things where I think it would be okay to have a famous actor play him because you're going to paint him up. He's going to look different enough that I think it may help, not make you think you're looking at James Bond the whole time, kind of like that scenario.
Exactly.
So yeah, it'd be cool.
Yeah.
I'm still hoping that we see Thrawn. One more I'd like to mention, like Ezra, because if we see Thrawn in live action, we're most likely seeing Ezra in live action as well, based off of the stories that we know so far.
Yep.
For Ezra, again, I think it should probably be a no name. I don't really want to see somebody that we already know as Ezra. But
Cole Sprouse. That's not right.
Cole Sprouse. I mean, it probably worked.
I don't know. I have no clue.
There was some blue hair on him.
Right, exactly.
My.
All right, let's move on to the next question here. So, our second question.
He actually had a long lost twin.
Right,
and
right. Here he comes, the other Sprouse boy.
And then they go to a hotel and
Jabba's hotel.
The two of them and Thrawn live in a hotel together.
Thrawn's Mr. Mosby. Okay, anyway. Our second question comes from Stuart Martin.
And then they go on a cruise and it just goes downhill from there.
A star cruise.
Okay, sorry, I'll quit.
Oh gosh, that's a really odd image in my brain, but I would not be against it. So Stuart Martin says, do you guys think we will see Mara Jade in some way, either live action or cartoon? So, for me, the simple answer, no. I hate to say it, but to me, there are two types of Legends stories. There's pre-saga and there's post-saga. And when I say saga in this context, I'm saying episodes 1 through 6. And stories that are pre-saga, in my opinion, they definitely have a chance of being canonized again, because they don't interfere with Disney's storytelling in a sense. But on the other hand, post-saga Legends, again, this is just my opinion, pretty much have a 0% chance of being canonized or really even hinted at, because for instance, like, Mara Jade, or any post-saga Legend story, or character, it would totally upend the sequel trilogy. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, Mara Jade was very important in what happens after episode 6. But now that we have a whole completely different storyline that happens post episode 6, I'm just saying, like, although I'd love to see her in something, or even hinted at, I don't think Disney will do it, because it's going to go against the grain of what they've already done.
Basically, in my opinion, if they ever bring Mara Jade back, it cannot be the same Mara Jade we know.
Exactly, yeah.
Basically, Mara Jade has to be a completely different character. Mm-hmm. She has to have a completely different storyline than what she originally did. And so, because of that, the people that love Mara Jade, if you do bring her back and she is completely different, they're probably not going to like that.
Right, exactly.
So, unfortunately, there is no real good answer to bring Mara Jade back. And so, that's why they most likely will not.
Yeah, and I'm going to say most likely, the problem is that, like we've just basically been saying, is like, either they're going to bring back exactly who we think Mara Jade is, and that's going to upend their story, which they're not going to do. Secondarily is that we would then have to have some kind of modified version of her, which wouldn't align with what we think she should be, and therefore people wouldn't like it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so if she ever is back, it's going to be a very small role. That's probably not going to be... it would have to be something very small and then move on, I would think. Kind of the same. I think more chances we get someone like Kyle Katarn or something in the future.
Yeah, definitely. So, let's see. I'm reading through stuff here. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead into our third and our final question. And I have quite a bit to say about this, so excuse me if I talk for a second, because I have a lot of opinion on this. But Willie Powers says, if Emperor Palpatine was able to return in The Rise of Skywalker, and he said that Darth Vader is more powerful than himself and Yoda combined, will he, being Darth Vader, ever make a return? So I have quite a bit an opinion on this. So this is kind of the short version, and we can get on to maybe a little bit longer version, and Andrew can expound on this too if he wants. But basically, expertise and raw power are two different things totally. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can have expertise and not be super powerful, but at the same time, you can be super powerful and not have a lot of expertise. You know what I'm saying? So let me break that down. What I mean by that. So the reason Palpatine came back was because he was able to make a clone of his body. First of all, he had a vessel that he could cast his presence into. But also because Palpatine was able to reanimate himself because he knew how to project his spirit. He understood the process of projecting his Force essence into another vessel. He knew how to do that. And that's the thing. I don't know if Vader ever knew how to do that. So no matter how powerful you are, if you don't know how to do something, you don't know how to do it. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I think that we'll probably never see Vader return in that same method.
And the question was if Vader could ever return, right?
Right. That's from my understanding, yeah.
So I 100% agree with you. I think also another aspect of that is that Vader is he ends up being a Jedi at the end. He redeems himself. He is back to the light side, and the light side isn't about trying to come back. It's not the Emperor coming back is a Sith method they use, and the light side knows when it's time to go, and they move on, and they of course become Force ghosts. But it's not about trying to find a way to live forever or live eternally. So no, I don't think Darth Vader will ever come back.
Yeah. Well, and let me
had
also
he stayed on the dark side, could he have maybe potentially found a way to do it? Mm-hmm. Possibly. But
yeah, I mean, I think there's two parts to this question. I think that first of all, the answer is I don't believe that Vader would ever come back, especially in that manner. But there's two reasons why I think that. Kind of what I already said is I don't know that Vader ever knew how to do that. And also within that, he would have to have a vessel to go into that was compatible with his spirit, blah,
it's
blah,
one
blah.
of those things that you have to think Palpatine may never have told him.
And I don't think he would have, right? Because this is what, Palpatine was incredibly secretive, and he always had a backup plan for his backup plan for his backup plan.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But then at the same time, we do know that Vader had to have known about Exegol.
True.
Because he held the Wayfinder in his castle.
Yeah. True.
So he did know about Exegol, and so that makes you do kind of wonder, was he in on the plan all along? On maybe, but you would think Vader, if Vader knew about it when he's laying there about to die, he'd been like, Luke, go find Exegol, go to my castle and get this Wayfinder because the Palpatine can come back.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And that also could be partially like, oh well, this wasn't written yet, kind of thing.
Right.
But I think that. Yeah, I think he probably didn't know about it, but I think again it harkens back to the main point that Andrew was talking about, is that he wouldn't do it though. It's not that maybe he had the power to, but he was not going to do that, because coming back from the dead to a different body and reanimating yourself, that's completely disturbing the balance of the Force. Right. Completely. And someone who
it's messing with the Force in an unnatural way. Right. And which we see, even though Palpatine can do it, the bodies that he's using can't. Yeah. They can't withstand it, and they deteriorate. So maybe he could, maybe he couldn't. I don't think he could, but even if he could, I think we both agree that he wouldn't if he could. So. Now I will say, to add just a little bit to that, there is always a chance Palpatine could maybe come back again one day.
That is,
we
don't know what happened when again, we kind of already been saying spoilers, I guess, but spoiler alert for Episode 9. Whenever Rey blasts him into oblivion, what is that actually? Is it destroying him and his spirit? Is it destroying just his body? What's going on there?
Basically, what I'm saying is, in 60 years, Disney might be like, we need to bring Palpatine back to make some moolah. Yeah. I'm not saying it's a good narrative decision. I'm saying it might be a good way to cash in some more money.
Oh, yeah. Definitely a Disney cash.
Or maybe, let's say 40 years.
Yeah.
We're like 65, and we're like, oh, yeah.
Palpatine's coming back.
Palpatine's coming back at the grandkids.
All right, Pappy's got a story to tell you. You ever heard of Darth Plagueis the Wise? So anyway, thank you guys for the questions. It's fantastic to it always kind of breaks up the monotony, gets us thinking. I love questions and topics and suggestions and stuff.
It's honestly one of my favorite parts because really just to see what we're gonna get and how it's gonna get our brains turning.
Yeah, I mean that's something I honestly never thought about Vader trying to come back via that method.
Right, yeah.
So anyway, guys, thank you for your questions. We have, I think, 3 or 4 more already in queue for next week. So just know that we're going to get to them. We're going to be answering them next week. And we look forward to you guys. So without further ado, we're going to get to our main topic. And we are going to talk and review Clone Wars Season 7, Episode 9, Old Friends Not Forgotten. So spoiler alert. We're going to be reviewing...
Spoiler alert. Hope you probably just like busted everyone's eardrums.
Sorry. Anyway, so spoiler alert. In case you didn't get the memo. We're going to be talking about Clone Wars Season 7, Episode 9. So, I'm just going to say right off the bat, by far... well, let me say this first. Hey, we enjoyed an episode. For you guys are probably thinking, like, these guys don't like anything. No.
I loved this episode.
This episode was so good.
So good.
By far, for me,
so good.
The best by any margin. Like, it was amazing. I love this episode.
Just right off the bat, we both realized just how much this felt like new Clone Wars.
Yeah,
this felt like they took it to the next level. It was so much more cinematic right off the bat.
Oh yeah,
it just had this epicness to it. Mm-hmm. It starts with that red Clone Wars, and you just know you're getting into those darker elements.
Well, it even started off different. Like, it didn't even just start with the fanfare stuff. Yeah. It had a weird grainy Lucasfilm. Like, it was so bizarre.
It was so good. And my favorite, one of the best things I've seen Clone Wars for a while, as all of you know, I'm a big Kenobi fan. Grace, my sister Grace, she's like, you always have mentioned that you're a Kenobi fan. Like, everyone knows that now. I'm like, well, it's just the truth.
Your heart says what's inside.
But and so when that rocket's going towards Commander Cody, and all of a sudden, Obi-Wan Kenobi comes out of nowhere and just like deflects it. Oh, that was so amazing. Dude, I loved it so much.
Well, and that's one thing I was mentioning, you kind of already said, but one thing for me that really stood out was even from the previous episodes of this new season, the cinematics in this episode were bar none. They were so far beyond what we've already seen. And I would literally, the funny thing is, I looked at episodes 1 through 4 or whatever with the Bad Batch arc, and I thought, man, it looks so good. And then we got to the Ahsoka arc and episodes 5 through 8 or whatever it is, and then I thought, I think I said on the first episode's review, man, the cinematics are so much better than Bad Batch arc. And then now I come to this episode, I'm like, dude, the cinematics are infinitely better than both of those arcs combined. It looks so good, and and I was dying inside in a good way when Obi-Wan blocked that rocket with his lightsaber. It just looks so good. He slides in with force or whatever, and just
And then it zoomed in and slowly panned on him.
He's panning Obi-Wan, and then off of his saber was smoke coming off. Dude,
so good.
Oh, it looks so good. And it's not just the looks though. The substance of this whole episode was fantastic. There was great storytelling. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of action, and it felt like it was going somewhere.
We're actually going somewhere.
And again, that's what I felt lacked in a lot of the other episodes, is that one episode, and this is just my opinion, right? But this episode had more story movement than the entire last arc did in all the episodes.
Oh, absolutely.
And not to say that I didn't like those episodes, because it's Star Wars and it's Clone Wars, and I love it. But this one was just infinitely better.
Yeah.
And we predicted this. We actually did say,
this is what we hoped for.
Yeah, we said these previous episodes of the Bad Batch arc, something they've already made, and this Ahsoka arc is just kind of filling in, and they're really focusing on the final arc. Yeah. And we kind of expect that, and is what's happening. But and I think there's just, I don't know, I'm trying to think what to say, but this whole episode is just, the cinematics are fantastic. They had just the little details everywhere.
And we finally see Ahsoka and Anakin back together,
which is great.
Of course, there's a little bit of uneasiness there. You can tell Ahsoka is still kind of hurt, still just kind of uneasy about their relationship. Anakin's trying to pretend like everything's is normal, you know. He's trying to just fun, he's trying to just like go right back into it, and she's just not having it.
When they first meet up, she was kind of like almost angry at him, like she was brushing him off, you know.
Yeah, like, she told him like not to, or now's not the time, or something.
Yeah, we're not gonna catch up. We might do it later, or whatever. Yeah. You know, and he's just kind of like, it's crying. It was a weird episode.
He's like, I'm gonna go to the Jedi Temple and slaughter children.
I want to go to the Jedi Temple. That's Anakin. That's how he blows off steam.
And so,
anyway,
and then we saw interesting in this episode. So we have Obi-Wan with them as well, and we see one of the coolest things is we see that this truly is going straight into Revenge of the Sith.
Oh man!
Because they're about to. They've kind of decided they are going to go to Mandalore and help. Mm-hmm. And right before they do, they get the call that Grievous is headed to Coruscant and going to take the Chancellor. And so crazy. Then Obi-Wan and Anakin have to leave.
Yeah.
And that, of course, leads directly into the beginning of Revenge of the Sith. They're in their ships, and they're late to the battle of Coruscant, which is the Battle of Coruscant that the movie starts with.
So let me say there's two movie parallels and TV show parallels that is kind of a cool callback type thing. So first of all, if you remember one of the times that Ahsoka is recalling Anakin in Rebels, she says that the last time I saw him, he was rushing off to save the Chancellor, and the last time that, well, let me phrase that, like in this episode. They tell each other, you know, goodbye and good luck or whatever as he's going. So it's kind of crazy. Like, I just love that callback. Like the last time I ever saw him, you know, he was rushing off to save the Chancellor. And then what's really cool, and this is another thing that I was really happy about, is one thing is I love Captain Rex. Right, I love Captain Rex. I know you do too. I love Captain Rex, and but one thing is, like, why did we never see him in Episode 3?
Right.
But it explains it.
We now
know.
And we know why Ahsoka's not around as well.
Yeah, exactly. But one really cool thing is, I'm like, first of all, like Commander Cody is very cool, but Rex is so much better. And I'm like, it just sucks to me that, like, oh man, he's always like captain, he's a commander, you know. But one really cool thing is that Anakin promotes Rex to be commander.
Yeah.
He's now Commander Rex.
He's now Commander Rex.
Dude, that would be so happy.
Good, yeah.
And then he sent him off with a part of the 501st. Which leads up perfectly, which I'm assuming Wolf's going to be with him, or is with him. I didn't see him, but at some point, I guess, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Wolf, and then
well, you would think they'd end up being there because
they are together after.
They're together after
66, or maybe they just like in different places.
Or they might end
up.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple different ways it could go,
but anyway, so he splits up part of the 501st and sends him with Ahsoka to Mandalore. Oh man, it was so good. I really enjoyed that.
And one thing that stood out to me as well is before they leave, Bo-Katan says to Obi-Wan, like, well, you really cared for my sister. And like, so you were, and Obi-Wan's like, you know, I can't let my feelings, you know, whatever, take control or whatever he says. And he resists that and you know, follows the code and all of that and goes on.
God bless Obi-Wan.
And so you can see Anakin kind of looking at him.
Yeah, pans over to Anakin slightly.
And he's kind of looking. Yeah. Because not long after this, Anakin's going to do the exact opposite of what Obi-Wan just did.
Yep.
He's going to let his feelings take control and cloud his judgment. And it's going to result in, you know, what happens. And so it's an interesting parallel there.
Yeah, and one interesting thing is they kind of foreshadow that a little bit. Is right after that where Obi-Wan says that I'm not going to let my feelings take hold and control me. It kind of foreshadows him disobeying Obi-Wan in a sense and doing the opposite because he says, good luck, Ahsoka. And she's like, Obi-Wan doesn't believe in luck. It's like, well, good thing I don't teach you that. Or I don't think that way or whatever. And so it kind of almost, in my opinion, foreshadows the fact that he is going to do the opposite of what.
And it makes you wonder, thinking really deep on that, what would have happened had Obi-Wan allowed his emotions to take the best of him and to try to get revenge?
Yeah.
Had he went would that have been the end of Obi-Wan, and changed the outcomes of everything that happens? It's just something.
That's a big question right there. Yeah.
I mean, we know that in the end, I guess this could be considered spoilers for Rebels and Clone Wars, I guess. But like, we know that Obi-Wan defeats Maul, right? But it's years down the road. We know that whatever happens here, Maul is not defeated.
Right.
Ahsoka is not going to defeat Maul.
Right.
And Maul's going to be defeated by Obi-Wan years later.
And the only reason Obi-Wan defeats him is because he completely changes his style, and he changes his everything.
One of the greatest moments in animation. I was talking to my dad, because my dad actually is a big fan of the Clone Wars and Rebels. Funny story, I don't think he's ever watched all the movies, but he does like the animated shows. And he was talking to me about, this is getting a little off subject, but I'm still going to talk about it. He was talking to me about how the episode, he just watched the episode with Darth Maul, going on Rebels and going to Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan takes him down in one strike, and he's like, that was it? He's like, that's all that happened? And so I had to explain it to him, and then he was really impressed by it, because Obi-Wan, Darth Maul comes, and Obi-Wan first immediately goes into his Clone Wars position, right? So he goes and he puts his hand out with the two fingers.
Yeah, the point,
And then he switches to his A New Hope stance.
Defensive kind of,
right?
Yeah.
But then, even after that, he changes a little more to Qui-Gon's stance from the Phantom Menace. Mimics the position that Qui-Gon was in when Qui-Gon was killed. And then Darth Maul takes the run, tries the exact move that he did on Qui-Gon, but Obi-Wan's prepared and ready and takes him out in one strike.
Oh,
so poetic.
Oh,
so poetic.
So good.
That's getting way off subject, but I just had to talk about that.
Man, that's good.
But again, all of this is still kind of, it's still part of that story.
Yeah.
And the whole setup that Darth Maul's doing is to try to get Kenobi. And he had a trap prepared and all this stuff we learn. And because once Ahsoka's there on Mandalore, they're like, you're the wrong Jedi. Yeah. That's what one of them says.
What are you doing here?
Yeah. And so it's interesting that Obi-Wan resisted this, because Darth Maul thought, I'm going to get Obi-Wan back. Yeah. He's like, I'm going to get him here.
This was part of his master plan to get Obi-Wan to Mandalore.
It's just interesting.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, I mean, man, this episode's cram-packed.
One other thing to add is that, and you sent me this picture, and I hadn't thought about it, is that we know in Rebels as well, Ahsoka says the last time she saw Anakin was when he was headed to Coruscant. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of a big thing too, because I forgot about that, and in my mind I was thinking he may end up coming to Mandalore for a little bit at some point.
Nope.
Or something. No, that was their last moment together. Yeah. That was them basically saying their goodbye and what we saw in this episode.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of a big deal. I don't know that we'll see Anakin and Obi-Wan anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll go back to them just for the fun of it or not. This might just stick with Ahsoka and Rex at this point.
Yeah.
As you guys already know, by the end of it, the last episode, I'm hoping we do see a little bit of everybody again. Mm-hmm. But I don't know.
Yeah, kind of our hopes was that from the beginning is that we get to see part of Order 66, and see, this would be a perfect time. This would be a perfect time.
We're going to see Order 66.
Yeah, and I'm saying but now Rex and Ahsoka are by themselves, right? And we know that they end up going with each other to whatever planet it was. I can't remember off the top of my head, or whatever system. I mean, it's perfect. I mean, it lines up perfect. So we better see some. Order 66 action. That's what I want to see. So anyway, but and like I said, I just want to say there's a lot of just really cool details in this. And one thing that really stuck out to me is the very end. And like I said, it was just so mature. Like, I don't know how to say it, but like it's so mature at the very end.
Oh, I loved it.
The very end is whenever they're Maul and Ahsoka are like looking at each other like intently. No one's speaking, and both have their lightsabers at the ready. And they're just ready to go. Ready. And then it cuts out, and all of a sudden it hits the black, and just all you hear is just.
You just hear that lightsaber.
You hear the lightsaber like crackling and humming. No. And then it goes to the credits and turns off the lightsaber, and just there's nothing. Silence. And it was just
not that upbeat music, and which I think is appropriate. I think this is what the point we're at is a dark story. There's no getting around that. We are officially in a very dark period.
Yeah, I mean,
and so
obviously, to some extent, we know that Maul's going to defeat Ahsoka. Maybe not defeat her, but she's not going to win. We know that Anakin's about to turn to the dark side. We know that that Order 66 is about to occur. We're about to see one of the most heartbreaking things in the world. This isn't going to be happy, but it's going to be beautiful to see it all come together in this cacophony of thing. Yeah. And, and I don't know, this episode had so much to offer. I think it had so much to offer for me.
Yeah, I think that I'm going to be going back and watching this final arc. I have a feeling a couple times. And I also want to watch this arc in with Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
And I'll be curious to see once the arc's over, where these episodes overlap during Revenge of the Sith. And I think we're going to kind of see, because we know from previous trailers that there's a couple of different places where lines that Mace Windu and Yoda say are lines that they say in the movie. Mm-hmm. And we're going to see that in animated form. So we know there's going to be some parallels there. And then I'm sure some people will figure out exactly where in the time period's taking, and then watching, stopping it and going to the movie and then going back and just watching it all as one big long thing.
That'd be
cool.
really sweet. I look forward to doing that. And I was gonna say, and like I said, this episode has so much to offer. It has complexity. It has honestly sadness and nostalgia and remorse, but it has some beautiful parts too. Like I said, the cool parts at the very beginning with Obi-Wan. I just have to point out, because I just want to say this before we get off, but I love the scene where we got to see the 501st honoring Ahsoka.
Yeah.
We actually, me and Andrew actually already saw this at Celebrations last year. They actually had kind of a poorly rendered version they wanted to show out, and people were bawling and I mean, I don't really cry at anything, and I was starting to well up a little bit. I mean, it was so touching. And to see it fully fleshed out. Yeah,
if you didn't know about that, it'd be a lot more. But
we kind of already knew about it. So.
But we knew that was gonna end up happening, so it wasn't as impactful. But it's still a cool moment, and I'm looking forwad to the rest of them. I think that we're finally in a really good arc.
3 more left.
And I'm also excited. There was one other moment I was really wanting to mention. But this is also we get our first close up of Caleb Doom.
Yeah,
in this just real quick. It's in the very beginning, when it's showing. It also shows Ayla Secura. She's on. What's that planet called? Of course,
I'm gonna
forget. Megiddo. I think that's what it's called. She's there. Yeah, the one she dies on. It shows Plo Koon and his ship, which he it's they're basically they're leading into it. They're showing that people are already kind of where they're going to be at when they
setting the stage.
Yeah, so cool stuff. But anyways, guys, I want to thank you for listening today. We appreciate all your guys' support and everything you guys are doing for us, and we ask that you please, share this and comment your thoughts on what you thought about the episode, and just continue to like us on Facebook and in our non-existent Twitter. We didn't know it exists, but it's just an ongoing joke, I guess, a running joke. But anyways. It's been such a great time, and we'll look forward to talking to you guys about the next episode next week. But until then, may the Force be with you, and we thank you for joining the Jedi Eternal.